Hello, Mooncrafters. Welcome. This is Craft of Moon. The new moon is coming up. This is the new moon in Sagittarius. We're going to be talking about this today. We'll be walking through the moon's journey from the last full moon at the beginning of December until this upcoming new moon. And then we'll be following her journey again to the next full moon. We will be pausing at the new moon to read a couple of passages out of some books that I have here about the moon and about the archetypes. And so we'll stop and pause for that for just a moment. In the meantime, before we get started, I would like to just remind everybody, let you know, I hope maybe you've been following these videos recently and maybe on my email list or in social media posts. But if not, here's the news. I am teaching a class with Synchronicity University, with Nadia Shah's university, coming up in January. The class is starting January 7th. January 7th is a powerful day. From January 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, the planets Mars and Venus are working through their synodic unions with each other, as well as their unions with the sun. And this on January 7th is when all three planets, the sun, Mars, and Venus, are all in the same degree of the zodiac, and they're all less than 30 arc minutes apart. They're very, very close. This is a powerful moment to start out our new year, and this is the first class that we'll be having in this course. It's the 5 cosmic catalysts for your best year yet. And I'm encouraging everybody to head on over to the site, synchronicityuniversity.com, and sign up for that class. You can get your tuition as low as $5 a class. There's 5 classes in the entire course, so that'd be $25 for the course. It's a very, very reasonable price if that's the level that you can afford. Of course, you can pay more, but it is a time where you can get a choose your own tuition rate at Synchronicity University. They're famous for this choose your own tuition rate. And if you'd like to join me in my class in the exploration of Mars, as we talk about the initiation of Mars and how that power of initiation brings us into the next year, you can come to this class. We're going to talk about Jupiter as the visionary. We're talking about Saturn as the architect, Pluto as the transformer, and Uranus as the awakener. We're going to be diving into the archetypes of these major planets. And these planets are all playing a significant part of this upcoming lunation from the new moon to the full moon in the upcoming part of the cycle of the lunation as the moon continues her journey. And this is significant because it represents the first full moon of 2026, and she will be bringing into that full moon experience all the energy that she's going to be collecting from this upcoming new moon to that next full moon, which is almost all of the planets she will be bringing in that energy from and just about to connect with Jupiter. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we get into the lunation, but I just wanted to encourage everybody to head on over to Synchronicity University if you haven't already and sign up for that class. Also, just a reminder, it does help this channel to grow and it supports my efforts if you subscribe and if you like the video. So please just take a moment to do that. It really helps things out here. Now, let me go ahead and bring up, now, the last time I did this, it seemed to work out pretty good. People seemed to like the me showing the chart up here. So I'm going to do that again. Let me see if I can find it. So here we go. Here is our chart. And this is set for the last full moon that we had on December 4th. So we're going to start there in our journey like I like to do on this channel. So it's kind of leading up to where we get to with the new moon coming up. So the moon in Gemini is it's a powerful moon. So we started out with this moon, the full moon representing the separation of the individuation of the sun and the moon, and really the reflection of the light of the sun back on the moon in its full in its fullness, marking the significant polarity and symbolizing the type of relationship that we experience with others, where we are fully in our own power, fully ourselves, and fully individuated, and able to express the kinds of energy that we have as the skills that we've developed in the world, symbolizing the path that we've been on to get to our fullness, those skills, the talents, the wisdom, and we have all that to shed and to share. And that's where the moon started her disseminating journey. She was in Gemini when she was doing that. And we continue on. So just stepping day by day here, we move from the moon in Gemini. Let me just kind of circle this for people so you can follow along. We have the moon in Gemini, so we were traveling on from that. She came in here to Cancer, where she connected with Jupiter, and this was back in the early December as well. She continues on in her journey. So Jupiter, just thinking about the archetype of Jupiter, the archetype of the teacher, the moon in her disseminating phase, these two archetypes coming together in Cancer, where the moon is in her domicile and Jupiter is in its exaltation, is bringing the power of the ability to teach, the ability to spread wisdom and to share knowledge and to share compassion. All these ideas of sharing and disseminating, this is where the moon is surrendering her light back. She's moving into the dark phases. And as she does so, she surrenders her light. And this is the disseminating light of wisdom and teaching and knowledge of not just like knowledge of like our tangible world, which it can be like scientific knowledge or just technical knowledge, practical knowledge, but also the wisdom and the compassion that we have in order to be able to exist and to coexist as humans on this planet. And what does it take to be humans together? And how do we be humans together when there is so much difference? This is the symbolism of the sun and the moon, things that are really different. And yet here we are. We are together on this planet, learning how to live and to work and cooperate with each other as a global society. Anyway, so the moon moves on from there, and she continues on her journey through Leo, which is the domicile of the sun, and she is in a trine, a fire sign trine to the sun in Sagittarius at this point, as she again she's disseminating her light. And Leo, when the disseminating moon is in Leo, this is a time where the moon is really just letting her qualities of all the qualities that we think of the moon associated with witchcraft and witchery, and not like in like any kind of like weirdly distorted views, but just in the sense of like, a wise woman in the woods, and passersby stop in and, are injured or hurt, and she's able to heal them or give them sustenance or kind of knowledge. And this is that kind of like wise woman who's able to share what she has. This is the queen at court, where she is, she has taken full control of her power, and in the control and in her power as queen, she is then able to effectuate her plans to make changes in policy and laws, and to motivate and to bring under her control the other individuals in the court. So this is that kind of like that disseminating moon in Leo phase. Anyways, moving on, we want to get to the new moon here. So then she crosses down through the south node, surrendering into the depths, the watery depths of her orbit as she moves below the south node. This is like her baptism. This is kind of like the metaphor that I often bring up, is like this is the cycle of baptism. And later, when she comes across the north node, this is going to be the immersion. Not the immersion. Emerging. Sorry, the emerging of the moon out of the north node. So this is in Virgo, and Virgo is that sign that brings in the qualities of purification. And so the moon being going below the south node is really bringing in the idea of the moon becoming purified and moving through a journey of purification as she crosses that south node boundary, really taking the karmic threads that she's been working through in her journey, and like letting those become surrendering those threads so that they can then be recycled and turned into new threads, new fabric, new cloth to be sewn into something new. Then the moon moves into Libra, where she enters the Via Combusta. We've talked a lot about the Via Combusta. I'm going to kind of skip over that a little bit right now. She moves into Scorpio simply because, for the sake of time, I do want to get to the new moon. So in Sagittarius, for those that are following along, we're now here in Sagittarius, and we see the moon coming into her connection with Mercury right there. And so what we'll see with the moon coming in through Sagittarius is she's going to be connecting with Mercury, then with Venus, and then finally with the sun. And so we see the combination of these three planets in addition to the moon, so 4 planets total, but the 3 planets that she connects with in Sagittarius are all adding to the archetypal interactions that she has, bringing in the idea of Mercury and the psychopomp, Mercury and traveling between worlds into new dimensions. And the balsamic moon is kind of an extra dimensional experience, where the balsamic moon is surrendering into the depths of darkness as she then allows all of what she has gathered finally release into Sagittarius, which is the domicile of Jupiter. It is the considered the sign of wisdom, the sign of philosophy. This was the sign of the centaurs, connecting with Chiron, who the sign was named after as a centaur. Chiron being one of the great philosophers and healers. And so the moon in this is pulling all this, letting her wisdom go, connecting with Mercury as the psychopomp and the traveler between dimensions, right as she is at the culmination of her new moon, moving into her dark moon phase. Then the next day on, she starts moving into her connection with Venus. And then finally on the 19th, at 5:43 p.m., the moon fully comes into her connection with the sun. And so this is where I want to pause and stop just for a moment and read something here from, I've got, let me see if you can see this. Let me make sure I'm showing this correctly. The Lunation Cycle, there we go. Lunation Cycle by Dane Rudyard. Okay, it's a good read. I've got quite a bit of bookmarks here in it. And one that I want to bring up here, this is on page 30 in the copy that I have, the printed copy that I have. It's in, let me tell you the chapter. It's like the first or second chapter. Second chapter. It says that the sun and the moon represent 2 definitely antagonistic and irreconcilable orders of life is the great illusion. It is the illusion of separateness, which sets the mind, the moon, against the spirit, the sun. The ego, a psychic structure whose evolutionary purpose is to develop objective clarity of consciousness through individual differences. Against the spiritual self, a power of integration seeking the fullest possible inclusiveness. This illusion of separateness destroys the vital essence of relationship, even if the outer forms remain as shells. It is the denial of relatedness and the mind which becomes pervaded, which it is only able to see the sun and the moon as two unrelated, alien, and forever conflicting factors, each with its own independent cycle of positions, instead as joint participants in a true cycle of relationship, the lunation. So what he's talking about here is some ideologies about trying to perceive the moon and the sun as fundamentally separate and unconnected. And he says this is the illusion, to seeing these luminaries as unrelated, because in fact, they represent the core essence. They are the archetype of relationship itself. And so when we think about the moon and the sun, especially at the peaks of the lunation, the full moon and the new moon, these represent the moments of pure archetypal expression of relationship itself, and not just relationship externally, but our own internal relationship with ourself, all of our parts, and those aspects and the planets within us, which manifest and are represented in our lives as the expression of who we are and the way that we present our karmic representations of our body, speech, and mind out into the world. So I just thought that was, really, it just struck me as a passage that was relevant for the lunation cycle right now. Doing a little bit of bibliomancy, sometimes flipping through books. I also see things that stand out that might be good to read, and I don't know, nothing's particularly standing out right now with this book. I did have another book that I'm going to read another passage from in a second. And that's going to be about the moon when she moves into Capricorn for her next, or I shouldn't say, she's going to be in Cancer for her next full moon, but the sun will be in Capricorn. So the moon will be in Cancer and the sun will be in Capricorn. So I'm going to read a little bit of Capricorn here in a second. So let's keep going. That is the new moon. And then the moon comes into a connection with Mars right here at the early parts of Capricorn. I think this is a really important part of the cycle because it's right before the sun moves into Capricorn. So the moon kind of is the harbinger of the sun moving into Capricorn in this way. She's the harbinger, and she connects first to Mars in the exaltation of Mars, which is a powerful connection. And again, if you take my class coming up, the first class I'll be teaching is on Mars and the power of Mars in Capricorn. So I would encourage you to connect with that class if you're interested. If you're not able to make the classes, you can also sign up and watch the recordings. But I'll be really digging into that archetype of Mars in Capricorn. So when the moon connects with Mars as the harbinger of Capricorn, the harbinger of the solstice, so she's moving into that solstitious quality that the sun is about to engage into, that quality of Capricorn, which is a lot of people don't necessarily think about it as such, but the Capricorn energy, just because it's slow, I mean, the light is slowly changing between fully dark to greater and greater amounts of light. That's a slow change in Capricorn. We don't see the acceleration of that happen until closer to Aries. So it is slow, but it is significant. It is significant to think of the light shifting and growing. Like the power of a seed growing is exponentially greater at the beginning than it is at the end. Like we see a big tree, trees are growing, and yeah, there's a lot of energy in trees, but the power of just one cell dividing into two dividing into four, that powerful moment, even though it's a small amount, it's incredibly potent. And that potency is the expression of Mars. And so the moon moving across Mars as at the beginning of Capricorn is the anointment of Mars as she sets up Mars to then bring in the energy for the rest of the year. So moving on, the sun moves into Capricorn. Then Venus is going to move into Capricorn. Moving on here. So Venus in Capricorn, moon moved through Aquarius and seeing Pluto. Now she's about ready to move over the North Node. So this is, we talked about this, the emergence of the moon. The moon is emerging in Pisces, the emerging from her netherworld depths into the sign of Pisces, which is about completion. It's about the unknown and the known coming together in a union that represents the expression of this very life itself through the messiness, through the chaos of things. It's a very watery, stuff is moving and fluid, and yet it is through this water that life itself is born. And then the moon continues on over the North Node, on to connect with Saturn and Neptune. And again, these are the planets, Mars, Pluto, Saturn. I don't talk about Neptune because I was only really able to focus on 5 planets. So I chose Uranus instead because we get Neptune with the, kind of like running side by side with Saturn. So, but Mars, Pluto, Saturn, and Uranus are all the planets I'll be covering in this course. So really, again, the link is in the description below. Then the moon moves into Aries, moving on finally into her exaltation of Taurus, and where she connects with Uranus, the great awakener, and she brings this energy of Mars, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus with her into the first full moon of the new year. So we see that. Let me just fast forward. So she comes into Cancer, where she connects for the first full moon of the new year. It happens before she connects with Jupiter. And so this full moon in Cancer, the sun is in Capricorn, and it's this, we've got, at the same time, we have Mercury, Venus, and Mars with the sun in Capricorn, right at the beginning of January, right before the cazimi of Venus and Mars. And so, this Capricornian energy is a strong energy that of initiation. And I wanted to read this passage about Capricorn. This is in the book here. Let me show it for you. The Archetypes of the Zodiac by Kathleen Burt. Another good book. So let me just read this for you. The Capricorn archetype includes every concept, sense, and meaning of time. From the most abstract Hindu, Mayan, and Greek ages of the gods, eonic time, to the concrete calendar year, and the lifespan of an individual, personal longevity, and mortality. 2 of the symbols chosen to represent the winter solstice and Capricorn, the crocodile and the tortoise, long-lived and slow-moving as well as hard-shelled, durable, reflect the association of Capricorn with life and death and survivalism. So, Capricorn, it is a sign of Saturn. And I think a lot of people kind of like, Capricorn, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think Capricorn kind of gets a little bit of a bad rap. I think all the earth signs do except for Taurus, which is so filled with sensuality. But I guess all the earth signs kind of get a little bit of a bad rap, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, Capricorn's a powerful sign, signifying time itself. I think that's a really powerful way of thinking about things. Though we in the modern Western world are no longer tied to the fertility cycle like agricultural peoples, the symbolism has remained. During winter solstice, we will celebrate the death of the old calendar year. If, for instance, we recall the line from the Christmas carol, "The earth in solemn stillness lies," we'll recognize a very ancient mood describing the winter solstice. The sun makes its station or appears to stand still overhead as the days grow shorter, and there is a hushed sense of anticipation in the earth itself. Anyways, a good book to look about to study the archetypes of the zodiac itself. I always get a lot out of it whenever I read it. So I it's a good book. Encourage you to take a look at it if you're interested. And what else? I think we're at the full moon, so we complete our cycle here. I'm not going to take a lot more time. It seems like shorter videos are a little bit better than longer ones these days. We'll just keep tracking on what y'all are liking, but please feel free to comment in the section below. Look in the description for links to connect with me if you'd like to book a reading or, sign up for any of the other work that I'm doing, classes. Connect with me, get on my mailing list. That's where I'll be sending out information to all of that. And again, the Synchronicity University class, feel free to connect there. And I think that does it for today. So I just have to say, until next time, keep your eye on the sky and make a wish upon a star.